Good afternoon. Well, you could say things have got a little complicated, but this looks a little bit better than it did 10 minutes ago. So, what we're doing is finally adding the console rear vents. Finally. But that requires an entire heater box swap. Now, this was out of a truck with automatic climate control. The guy I bought it from up in Martini thought that there would be internal differences between the boxes. Well, I was like, that don't make sense to me because both trucks have dual climate, and the only thing I know that's different between the two trucks is the blower motor, the resistor, and pretty much all the actuators, I'm guessing. Now, this took 3 trips to get this right. The first one I picked up, I ordered over the phone, went up there and picked it up when it was ready, and I totally forgot what this looked like, what that looked like, and I had one in my storage unit. I have it sitting here somewhere. Here we go. I have an end sitting in my storage unit. Of course, I didn't have it with me. Probably should have. But what I saw on the box was that, and I'm like, you know what? The one I've got has got a square. Maybe that bolts up to it. I couldn't remember if it had an accrement to it, an angle, I should say. Pug one. Anyway, so that unfortunately was flat. I found out, and I'm like, well, it's no different than the one I got. And the sucky thing about that is it's the lower half of the box is molded with that. It is not a swap over. I know people have done modifications to the box to get it to fit. Not worth it. My goodness. You don't get the airflow. You get half the airflow because the one thread online I found, the guy made something to go on top of this, but it literally was like half of it would get air. So it would hit this, and then it'd have to go over here to get... No, I'm not about that. I'm about factory, as close to factory as we can possibly be. So I swapped over all my actuators. I swapped over the blower motor, the resistor, all the wiring. Not a big deal whatsoever once the box is out of the truck. And, everything's been working so far. But yeah, there's no internal differences. There's no real external differences other than the chute is what I want. So I'm excited. We'll finally have a lot better heating and air conditioning for the rear half of the truck. And yes, I know it's an absolute pigsty. Don't judge. But, oh my gosh. And to me, it was easier to have the seats, and I needed the console out of the way. And the easiest way to get the console out is to take the seats out. Believe it or not. Because there's a whole lot of screws, and a lot of tight spaces that you have to deal with to even get the freaking console out and unscrewed from the base. It's just easier to undo all 8 bolts for the seats, unplug the wiring, and lift the seats and the console out. Individually, not all at once, obviously. But, so, that's what we're doing right now. And I'll probably plug everything in and double check that we have airflow coming out of there and coming out of the rear vents, making sure that that duct underneath there is mated properly, because that's what that square over on the right side is for. This is for your under-seat floor vents, if you did not know, which are kind of borderline useless. An extended cab, you can kind of get away with it. The vents up here practically have to compensate for the extra space in an extended cab. But in a crew cab, that's double an extended cab, the extended portion. And it's the front just can't keep up with trying to do the rear as well. And with that, like in the summertime, you got so much heat back here yet, and AC blowing up here, it just doesn't compensate very well. It doesn't get cold right away. So I really liked it when I had the rear vents in my extended cab, because it would freeze you right out of the truck. It was just, and this is in the LB7, not the 06, because I added this console to my 06, and then I put it in this truck. But, it would freeze you out because you had all that extra air back here, just ice. Oh my gosh, it was literally an ice box. It just about scraped frost off the windows. That was just wonderful. But I found a console, an 0102 that I want to get for that truck that has the rear vents. Very rare option. So I better clarify before someone starts bitching. It's very rare. The style I want, the 0102 Escalade with console with the rear vents, it has to come from the EXT, the pickup version of the Escalade. 0102 only. That is the only console that has the light at the bottom like I want, and then it has the vents in the back. 0102 Escalade EXT pickup. Only Escalade to have that. Not very many of them left, and I gotta get my hands on one before they're all gone, obviously. So that's kind of on the list maybe for this summer, because my 0102 had floor vents, and I've blocked it off with a block off plate. I went to the junkyard. Luckily, the 0102, you know, that duct and everything is just unbolt and slap on. At least for me, it was. But I know that the 0307, they just completely did away. You either had the vents or you didn't. So, and the whole kibosh of what I'm doing. So, pain in the butt, but we're getting it working. And the spring, we'll worry about the AC and getting that properly charged with a new dryer, a new orifice tube, and a filter. And we'll make sure that sucker is just pimped out to the nines, because I want this sucker blowing 35, 40 degree temperature air. I don't want 50, 60 degrees. That just ain't going to cut it. And especially with such a big cab and a dark color, I want my cold AC. So, but at least the people in the rear, I know my mom, she can't hardly stand being in a hot truck. Like if she was riding in the rear, and this was a real scenario, and this past, it was about August, and it was still about 80 degrees in Michigan, and it was just horrible. She just was having panic attacks because she was breathing such hot air back there, and I'm like, well, give it a few minutes, because the AC's cranking, and she'd have the window open, which defeats the purpose of the AC. So, but yeah. So we shouldn't have to worry about that anymore, because I know it works halfway decent, at least in Dad's truck. So his truck came with the console. So just figured I'd give you guys a quick heads up if this is what you guys want to do. I know a lot of people I know this is something I want to do with doing the automatic climate control swap over. Not going to do it. Honestly, I hate it. In the Silverados, it is absolute kind of trash. It's just so finicky, and it doesn't seem to blow air as hard as it does in the manual controls, and it just is not up to snuff for me. And it's a pain in the ass to me. It looks good, but it's a pain in the ass, and you'd have to swap the whole dash over, which if you're doing vents and all that stuff, then yeah, it might be worth it, maybe, but it's still a lot of fiddle farting around. And I'm not willing to do. Okay, so as cool as it would have been, I mean, that's a lot more money too. I mean, you got to buy the whole vent. You got to buy a whole dash assembly, wiring, vents, and all, and hope they didn't snip one little wire, eh? So luckily, these guys are very good up there. The first box I had the whole wiring, like this one had all the wiring intact, but of course, that one went back, and I picked this one up, but it didn't have the wiring. Not a big deal, because all the actuators and stuff are still laying around where I was taking them all off and whatnot. So I've got an automatic blower motor, resistor, and actuators. If y'all are interested, need some, want some, whatever, send me an email or something, because I'll have them for a while, I guess. So, but I don't know which ones are which, so you better have your part number in hand with the one you want, because I don't know which ones are which at this point. But I think this one was a replacement one, because it says Korea. So, and it's still very nice, like new for the most part. So, and then the blower resistor looks like it's been in there for a little while, but not the end of the world. So, anyway. But yeah, not hard at all. Nothing wrong with this box. I'll have this box for sale, I guess. But the only other thing too is I don't know why, but the studs came out on the other evaporator. And what really sucks, and I mean really, really sucks, is these studs don't come out. So I got to go to Home Depot and find some new studs to put in there. And I don't know that they'll have aluminum like those ones, but what can you do? So the AC obviously is going to be disconnected for a while. It's, 20, 30 degrees, if that. Can't really charge the system like that. Unless your shop's like 80, 90 degrees. It'd be nice. Eh? So, oh well. But that'll give me some time to get everything together, all the new parts and stuff for the AC. So, hope this helps you guys. And I'll show you my little beeper dinger for the... I suppose you can't hardly see it. Let me switch the camera. There it is. The little pigtail wire. There you go. That's the aftermarket dinger with the pack system. So, I think that's pack. Yeah, it is. Okay, so that's for the radio, the buttons and everything, whatever. So, but it comes with a little dinger since it pretty much eliminates the door dinger. I know a lot of people probably going to delete it anyway, but for me, I like to know stuff. Like if it's a good reminder if you left your keys in your truck. For me, I do that sometimes. That really bugs me because I've locked myself out a few times. And I know you're going to call me probably stupid or something, but you know what happens. And it mainly happens when I'm waiting for somebody. I'll pull up, shut the truck off, and then turn the key back and kind of pull it out. And of course, with it out, it doesn't ding. So, that's kind of my own fault. But then I go to get out of the truck, and I go to grab my keys, and I'm like, oh, shit. So, that kind of crap happens. Life goes on. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And let me know what you think in the comments of what you guys would have done. God bless.